So in this part of the lecture, we're going to talk about taxes, subsidies, and rationing, and how does budget line behaves under when quantity tax is imposed, or when value tax is imposed, or when subsidy is imposed. So for example, quantity tax is imposed, right? So in case of a quantity tax, supposedly if government imposes a quantity tax, and what happens is that consumer has to pay a certain amount to the government for each unit of the good he is purchasing. For each unit of the good he is purchasing, consumer has to pay a certain amount to the government, right? So if there is a quantity tax of $T per unit is imposed. Earlier the price of the good one was P1, but now the quantity tax of $T per unit of the good is imposed. Then what happens is that the price, it simply increases from P1 to P1 plus T, right? The price, it increases from P1 to P1 plus T. Government has imposed this tax. Now instead of paying P1, you will have to pay P1 plus T, right? So in this case, what happens is that budget line gets steeper. So if you have earlier the prices given to you as P1, P2 and income as M. So earlier the budget line was P1x1 plus P2x2 equals to M, right? But new budget line would be, now the price of x1 is not P1, it is P1 plus T. So the new budget line is P1 plus T x1 plus P2 x2 equals to M. This is the new budget line. And note that it is a steeper budget line than the old budget line, right? Than the old budget line. This guy is the steeper budget line, right? Well, I'm also writing this point, budget line gets steeper here. You may also try to draw this budget line, right? You may also try to draw this budget line and you can see where the budget line gets steeper or flatter when the tax is imposed. So first of all, we'll draw the initial budget line and then we will see what happens if the tax is imposed and the new budget line is drawn. Then what happens in that case? So in the original budget line, when x1 is 0, x2 is m by p2. When x2 is 0, x1 is m by p1. You join them together, what you get is this curve. This is the downward sloping straight line, which is the budget line, your original budget line. There is no tax which is imposed. How much of x1 you can consume? If you spend your entire income on x1, m by p1. What about the new budget line? So new budget line, when x1 is 0, x2 is m by p2. So there is no change in the vertical intercept, but the horizontal intercept, it reduces to m upon p1 plus t, right? So the new budget line, as you guys could see, this is a violet budget line and this gets steeper, right? This gets steeper. So so this is the first case. Well, then you have the value tax, right? Value tax. So as we have seen in case of the quantity tax, that what is being imposed is the tax on the quantity which you are consuming. Here the tax is on the value, tax is on the price, right? Tax is not on the amount of the quantity which you are consuming, but tax is on the price or the value, right? So if the price of good one was P1 earlier, and if tau is the sales tax, so how much you have to pay? You have to pay P1 to the supplier, but tau P1 to the government, right? So if P1 is the price of good one, tau is the sales tax, you will have to pay P1 to the government and tau P1, sorry, P1 to the supplier and tau P1 to the government. This is what you will have to do. So ultimately the price which the consumer is facing is this, 1 plus tau P1. This is the price which consumer has to face. I mean, of course, we are bifurcating the amount which he has to pay to the supplier and the amount which the government is going to get. But ultimately, consumer has to pay this much, right? So I'm writing this for you. So P1 is the amount which goes to the supplier, and tau P1 is the amount which goes to the government, right? Tau P1 is the amount which goes to the government. Well, you can write the budget line as 1 plus tau P1 x1 plus P2 x2 equals to m. This is the new budget line which you have. The original budget line was P1 x1 plus P2 x2 equals to m, while the new budget line is 1 plus tau P1 x1 plus P2 x2 equals to m. So this is little different from the quantity tax, right? It is on the value, it is on the price of the good. This is also called ad valorem tax. Ad valorem tax, right? This is also called ad valorem tax. Okay. The third is the case of subsidy. The third is the case of a subsidy. So subsidy is absolutely opposite of the tax. In case of a tax, government takes money from the consumer. In case of a subsidy, government gives money to the consumer, right? Government gives money to the consumer. So in case of a quantity subsidy, the government gives an amount to the consumer, right? And that depends on the amount of the good which is being purchased. So for example, if S dollars per unit is a subsidy which is given to the consumer for good one, earlier the price was P1, now the price would be P1 minus S dollars, right? Earlier the price was P1, now government is giving subsidy, so it is P1 minus S. Are you with me? That is, earlier you were to pay P1, but now you have to pay just P1 minus S, right? So this is the case of a subsidy. So earlier the budget line was P1 x1 plus P2 x2 equals to m. Now the budget line is P1 minus S x1 plus P2 x2 equals to m. Well, in this case what happens is that the budget line gets flatter. In case of a tax, budget line got steeper. Now in case of a subsidy, budget line gets flatter. You can also draw, I'm not drawing the another diagram, although you should be drawing a different diagram in your register. But if you look at it, let me just write the budget line for a subsidy here. It is P1 minus S x1 plus P2 x2 equals to m. Well, if x1 is 0, x2 is still m by P2. So the vertical intercept has not changed. So what has changed is x2 equals to 0. When x2 is 0, x1 is m upon P1 minus S. Now, since denominator has reduced, so the amount has increased. So it is m upon P1 minus S. And this red budget line, as you have seen, that is a flatter budget line. So I'll just write that. Budget line gets flatter. Right? Budget line is flatter here. So this makes budget line flatter. Subsidies make budget line flatter. Taxes make budget line steeper. Okay. After this, you have a case of a lump sum tax, right? After this, you have a case of a lump sum tax. Lump sum tax. So, lump sum tax. So, in case of a lump sum tax, what happens is that government takes away some fixed amount of money, regardless of individual's behavior. So it doesn't matter. That is, supposedly if you're earning $100, government will say, I'll take $20 from you. So what happens? From your income, $20 is subtracted. From your income, $20 is subtracted. And what will happen in this case? There is a parallel downward shift in the budget line. So budget line shifts inwards. It is just like taking income back from you. So in case if I give you lump sum subsidy, that is like giving income. So supposedly if government gives a cash transfer, So government is giving income back to you. So when government is giving income back to you or is adding to your income, then budget line shifts outward. But in this case of a tax, government is going to take some amount of money regardless. So when government is taking money from you, so your income has been reduced, and when your income is reduced, budget line will shift inward. Budget line will shift inward in this case, in case of a lump sum tax. I may not draw it, but I'll just write this in the another ring so that you understand it clearly, that in case of a lump sum tax, budget line will shift inwards. Budget line will shift inward. Well, then you have the rationing constraints, right? Rationing constraints. So what do you have? What do you mean by rationing constraints? So for example, one of the good could be rationed. Say, although you have money to buy 10 kilograms of a good, but supposedly if government says nobody can buy more than 5 kilograms. So even though you have money to purchase 10 kilograms, 5 kilograms extra than the rationed amount, but you still can't purchase it. Even though you have money, right? You can afford it, but still you can't buy it because government has rationed this product. Nobody can buy more than this. So supposedly if there are two goods and government puts a rationing constraint on good one, that no more than x1 bar can be consumed by any consumer, then what happens is that this section of the budget set will be lobbed off, right, beyond the rationed quantity. This section of the budget set beyond the rationed quantity will be completely lobbed off, right? So for example, this I have told you already, that if you have money to buy, let's say 10 kilograms, but government says that nobody can buy more than 5 kilograms. So beyond 5 kilograms, that amount or that section from your budget set is lobbed off, right? Let us draw this also. Let us draw this. So you have x1 on the horizontal axis and x2 on the vertical axis, right? And you have a budget set like this. So what happens in this case is that government says that you cannot buy more than x1 bar of the good. So if you cannot buy more than x1 bar of the good, then this little triangular portion of the budget set will be lobbed off, right? So only this much amount of budget set will remain as a part of your budget. This portion which I have not shaded, that is lobbed off from the budget set. This is the language which you will have to write, beyond the rationed quantity, right? So the section of the budget set beyond the rationed quantity will be lobbed off. The section of the budget set beyond the rationed quantity will be lobbed off. Okay, now after this, you can also combine taxes and rationing together. So you can put a tax and you can also ration the product. That is, rationing can be of various kinds. One kind of rationing is that beyond 5 kilograms, boss, you cannot buy. The other kind of rationing is that if you buy beyond 5 kilograms, you will have to pay a higher price. So that is a different kind of a rationing, right? So, and you can also put a tax on this. So higher price in terms of a tax which you will have to put. So what happens here? So let us say, so there is a consumer who is consuming good 1, okay, and the price of good 1 is, let's say, P1, and you can pay P1 till x1 bar, but beyond x1 bar beyond x1 bar, you will have to pay taxes. This is the same example which I'm giving you, that you can buy, let's say, 5 kilograms of rice till for 2 rupees. But if you want to buy beyond 5 kilograms, you will have to pay 1 rupee extra, right? That is like a tax. So the price becomes 3. So this is another kind of rationing, right? So a consumer could consume good 1 at a price of P1 at P1 up to x1 bar, and then had to pay taxes T, on all consumption in excess of x1 bar, on all consumption in excess of x1 bar, right? Or beyond x1 bar. So how does my budget set looks like? That is, as far as before x1 bar is concerned, that is x1 less than x1 bar, the slope of budget line will be like P1 by P2. But the moment you hit x1 bar, that is, you hit x1 bar or you go beyond x1 bar, then the price of P1 increases from P1 to P1 plus T. So the slope of the budget line becomes P1 plus T upon P2, right? So for x1 less than x1 bar, slope of the budget line is P1 by P2. I've written the minus sign, you may not write it, because it is natural for us to assume that budget lines are downward sloping. And x1 greater than equal to x1 bar, the moment you hit x1 bar, you will have to start paying a higher price. So it is P1 plus T upon P2. Upon P2, right? P1 plus T upon P2. You guys can also draw this if you want, and then you will understand it clearly. So let me just draw this also for you. So it is like this. So you have x1 here and x2 here, right? So let us draw the initial budget line like this. Let's say this x1 bar is the quantity or the rationed amount, that beyond this you will have to pay a higher price. I hope you understand this. So beyond this point you will have to pay a higher price. So till this point the price of x1 is P1, but beyond this point you will have to pay higher price. So I'm just drawing this for you. Supposedly if this was not rationed, then this amount, this is the maximum amount you could have consumed of x1, right? But of course you can't consume this. Why? Because beyond x1 you'll have to pay a higher price. It will be little lesser than this. Beyond x1 bar, sorry, you can only buy at a higher price. So it is like this. Let me make this little thicker so that you understand it clearly. This becomes the new budget line, right? Beyond x1 bar. So it's like a kinged budget line. So the earlier budget line, this thick, bold, black budget line is the earlier budget line, which has a slope of P1 by P2. And this red budget line, which is even steeper than the thick, bold budget line, thick, bold, black budget line, it has a slope of P1 plus T upon P2, right? So you can straight away write this as, let's say you write the slope of this as P1 by P2, and the slope of the red portion you can write as P1 plus T upon P2. P1 plus T upon P2. Right, so this is the first example of the kinged budget line. I'll give you one or two more examples of the kinged budget line also. But before than that, I want to do one or two very simple questions also, just to draw the budget line again. So let us do one or two more questions. Very simple. I mean, that is, supposedly some prices are given and the tax is imposed. How will the budget line shift? prices are given, ad valorem tax is imposed, how will the budget line shift? Right, simple question, just for the sake of completeness I'm doing one or two questions like this. Then I'll do your food stamps and the quantity discount case also. So x1, x2 is this, there are two goods, x1, x2, and prices are p1, p2, which is 2, 3, and income is 12, right? Now suppose government puts a quantity tax of rupee 1 on good 1. Suppose government puts a quantity tax of rupee 1 on good 1. How will the budget line shift? How will the budget line shift in this case, right? So the question says, how will the budget line shift in this case? Pause the video and try to draw this budget line. Right, pause the video and try to draw this budget line. So earlier the budget line was 2x1 plus 3x2 equals to 12. Earlier the budget line was 2x1 plus 3x2 equals to 12. But now the price of x1 increases to 3, right? Why? Because you have to pay a quantity tax of 1 rupee on each unit. So now earlier the price was 2, now the price is 2 plus 1, which is 3. So now the budget line becomes 3x1 plus 3x2 equals to 12, right? 3x1 plus 3x2 equals to 12. Am I clear on this? Right. You can also sort of draw this budget line also. So if you draw the earlier budget line or the original budget line, you get what? So you have x1 on the vertical x1 on the horizontal axis, x2 on the vertical axis. So when x1 is 0, x2 is 12 by 3, which is 4, and when x2 is 0, x1 is 12 by 2, which is 6. So this is the original budget line. This is the original budget line. You can also draw the new budget line. New budget line is 3x1 plus 3x2 equals to 12. So when x1 is 0, x2 is 12 upon 3, which is 4, and that's right. That is the same intercept. But when x2 is 0, x1 is 12 upon 3, which is 4. So new budget line has an intercept of 4, a horizontal intercept of 4, and so the budget line becomes steeper in this case. Let's do one more simple question, a very simple question, which says that now suppose instead of a quantity tax, government puts an ad valorem tax of 10% on good 1. How will the budget line shift? So government puts an ad valorem tax of 10% on good 1. The question says, how will the budget line shift? So in this case also, you need to think about this situation, that how will the budget line shift in this case. So government puts an ad valorem tax of 10% on good 1, 10% on good 1. How will the budget line shift? How will the budget line shift? Try to pause the video and do it again. First of all, before looking at the answer, try to do this yourself and then do it. Well, you can draw this. I mean, draw this, or you can just at least write that. So earlier the budget line was 2x1 plus 3x2 equals to 12. 2x1 plus 3x2 equals to 12. And now the price of good 1 changes from 2 to 10% of 2 plus 10% of 2. There's an ad valorem tax. So ad valorem tax is on the price, not on the quantity. So it is 2 plus 10% of 2. So it is 2.2, right? The price is going to be 2.2, and the new budget line looks like 2.2x1 plus 3x2 equals to 12. 2.2x1 plus 3x2 equals to 12. You with me? Right? Okay. Now let's do the food stamps thing. Food stamp program. So this is an important concept. I mean, this has been also done just towards the end of the chapter. food stamps program? A simple thing. So food stamp says that if I give you a food stamp worth 5 units of food, it means that you don't have to pay for 5 units of food. You will get 5 units of food for free. You don't have to pay anything for that. But beyond 5 units, if you still want to consume, you will have to pay the price of food. Right? That is what the food stamps program is in a simple terminology. Now suppose good X is food and consumer receives a food stamp worth of 5 units of food, and consumer receives food stamp worth of 5 units of food. Food stamps worth of 5 units of food. Assume the price of X is 10 and price of Y is 5. Assume the price of X is 10 and the price of Y is 5. Right, and income is 100. Draw the budget line. And the income is 100. Draw the budget line. Right, and income is 100 and draw the budget line. So pause the video, try to do it yourself first. Think about it. This is a simple case. You do not have to pay anything for the first 5 units of food. You'll be asked to pay anything only beyond 5 units. Not for the first 5 units at least. Not for the first 5 units at least. You will not have to pay anything. So you do not have to pay anything for that. Right? So I will write that also. Please write alongside. The first 5 units of food, right? The first 5 units of food are free to the consumer. You don't have to pay anything, nothing at all, right? But if you want to consume anything more than 5 units of food, you will have to pay for this. The payment will start only after the 5 units. The payment is going to start only after the 5 units. So you need to be worried about what will happen to the horizontal intercept. If food is on the horizontal axis, what will happen to the horizontal intercepts? So the first 5 units of food are free to the consumer. The first 5 units of food are free to the consumer. However, the consumer must pay for every unit of food after 5 units. However, consumer must pay for every unit of food after 5 units or beyond 5 units. You with me? Beyond 5 units. Well, you can draw the budget set. It looks like this. So you have food on the horizontal axis and you have other goods on the vertical axis. Other goods on the vertical axis. So let us draw the original budget line first, without food stamps. Without food stamps. So we need to draw first of all the original budget line, that is without food stamps. So Px Py is 10, 5. Income is 100. So the budget line becomes 10x plus 5y equals to 100. Right? 10x plus 5y equals to 100. So when x is 0, y is 20. Vertical intercept is 20. When y is 0, x is 10. When y is 0, x is 10. So this becomes the horizontal intercept, which is 10. Right? Horizontal intercept, which is 10. Now, I've also bolded it down. So that's the original budget line, that is without food stamps. Original budget line without food stamps. Well, for first 5 units of food, you don't have to pay anything. The price of those first 5 units of food is zero to you. It doesn't make any difference to your life. It is just added to your budget set. So what happens is the first 5 units of food are free. So if you're consuming just 5 units of food, you can still consume 20 units of other goods. If you're consuming just 5 units of food, you will use a food stamp because food stamp gives you a right of consuming 5 units of food for free. If you're consuming just 5 units of food, you can still consume 20 units of the other good. So I can draw my budget set like this. But if beyond 5 units I still have to, if I still have to consume food, then I have to pay. I have to pay this 10 rupees per unit. I have to pay that. And with that, I can consume 10 units after that, right? So first 5 units are free. And if I'm spending my entire income on X, I can buy 10 more units. So the horizontal intercept is 15 now. First 5 are free. If I still have to spend my entire income on good X, then I'll add 10 more to give me 15 out here, right? So this violet budget line is nothing but budget line with food stamps. This violet budget line is like budget line with food stamps. Is that right? Right? This is an important question, guys. I hope you understand this. You understand this 15. How is this 15 coming? I'm consuming 5 for free. If I still spend my entire income, I can consume 10 units of food more. So 5 plus 10 is 15. Right? Okay, so I've also marked you budget line with food stamps and budget line without food stamps. Then there is one more good example I have to give you about quantity discount. How will the budget line functions in this case? In case of a quantity discount. In case of a quantity discount, how does budget line functions? So let us say the price of good 2 is constant at rupee 1. Suppose price of good 2 is constant at rupee 1. Right? And income is 100. And income is 100. Right? Also till 20 units of x1, the price of good 1 is 2. Till 20 units of x1, price of good 1 is 2. And for units more than 20, price of good 1 falls to 1. Price of good 1 falls to 1. Right? Draw the budget line. Draw the budget line. Right? I want you to draw this first yourself. Pause the video. Try to do it yourself, and then come back. Okay. For any amount of x1 between 0 to 20, the price is 2 units for x1 and 1 unit for x2. So it is 2x1 plus x2 equals to 100 as the budget constraint. 2x1 plus x2 equals to 100 as the budget constraint. Right? But the moment 20 units are purchased and if you want to buy more, right, then you can only buy more when you have, I mean, supposedly if you want to buy more than 20, it means that you have spent amount on 20 units. So for those first 20 units of X1, how much you would have spent? Each unit of X1 was costing you 2 rupees. So the amount which is spent on the first 20 units of X1 is 2 into 20, which is 40. Right? Please add that. Once 20 units of X1 are purchased, how much is the amount which is spent on X1? 2 into 20. And if you are still on the budget line, then it means that you would have spent 60 on the other goods, that is on X2. Your budget line was what? 2x1 plus x2 equals to 100. You have spent 40 rupees on good 1. How much is left? 60 rupees for good 2. Right? So 40 rupees is already spent. And if you have already spent 40 rupees on X1, so the remaining income is what? Remaining income is 60. Right? That 60 you can spend on X2, that 60 you can spend on X1 also at the lower price, whichever way you want. So if you want to consume more than 20 units of X1, the budget line becomes what? X1 plus X2 equals to 60. Your remaining income is 60, not 100. That is the learning of this question. You with me? That is the learning of this question. So you have X2 here on the vertical axis and you have X1 on the horizontal axis. So let me just draw the initial budget line. Let me just draw the initial budget line, which is what? So you have, if X2 is, if X1 is 0, X2 is 100, and if X2 is 0, X1 is 50. That's the initial budget line. Is that right? That is right. So if you have bought or consumed 20 units of X1, and if you are on the same budget line, it means that you can consume 60 units of X2. Right? If you are on the same budget line, this original budget line, it means that you are on this, that you can consume 60 units of X2. Or you can also think in the another fashion. That is, after this point, right, the remaining income which you have is 60 rupees. After this point, which you have marked on this budget line, the remaining income which you have is 60 rupees. You have a choice. You can still consume all of X2, consume all of X2 as 60, or you can consume all of X1. You can consume 60 more units of X1. So if you still want to buy all of X1, so you can consume how much of X1? 20 plus 60, which is 80. So this 80 is the learning of this question. The first learning is the king which we have got on the budget line. The second learning of this question is 80. How exactly we have got 80. Are you with me? Right? I will also bolden this. That is, you understand this point. That is, if I'm buying 20 units of X1, it means that you have money to buy 60 units of X2. Right? So from this point, I can draw the kinged budget line. I can go on till X1. I can go on till 80 units of X1, because after this point, you have just 60 rupees with you. If you put X1 as 0, you can buy X2 as 60. Or if you put X2 as 0, X1 could be 60. Right? X1 as 60 would mean you were already buying 20 units. If you still spend your entire income on X1, you can buy 60 more units, which means you can buy 80 units. So this is the exact shape of the budget line. This is the exact shape of the budget line, this budget line. So the upper portion of this kinged budget line has a slope of 2 I'm writing minus P1 by P2. I mean, you can just write P1 by P2, assuming that you know that budget lines are downward sloping and the lower portion has a slope of 1. P1 by P2 equals to 1. Right? So this is the way you will be doing this chapter. Do Varian, do some questions. Varian questions, Varian questions. Just reading Varian is not enough. You will have to do numericals side by side. I hope I've made myself very clear. Okay, thank you very much.